And I want to welcome everyone to the first inaugural Africa 2063 Spotlight Series. We have Miss Kenna Williams, direct from South Africa, who has blessed us today. And we'll be asking her some questions about her background, about her experience in South Africa, the highs and lows of living on the continent. So with that, welcome, Kenna. Thank you for gracing us and blessing us with your presence here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. So Kenna, if you don't mind, if we start out a little bit about you, could you tell us a little bit about your background, where you're originally from?
Okay, sure. I'm Kenna Williams. I guess I can say my age. I'm in my 40s, 43, be 44 later this year. I am originally from Memphis, Tennessee. However, I have spent almost the last 20 years living in Oxnard, California.
Okay,
So that's probably a good place to start.
got it. Yeah, no worries, no worries. And of course, you're currently in South Africa. How long have you been there?
I moved here to South Africa last year. Last
Okay.
year, I actually left my full-time job,
Mm,
quit, moved to South Africa, and I've been here pretty much since that time. In my past, I aerospace engineer by degree. I did a lot of program project management type of work. Again, worked for almost 20 years. Left that job in September, and been here ever since. You
nice.
can feel free to ask
So
me anything
yeah,
about
no,
that.
no worries. Aerospace engineering here in the States. Are you doing that same type of work in South Africa?
Now, a few years ago, I started my own travel consulting, travel planning company back in
Nice.
2017. So I decided to do that full time. So I've been doing that full time since, I guess you would say, since I left my old job.
Got it. And why did you leave? What made you decide to leave kind of and go down the entrepreneurial path?
Like a lot of people probably in my age range, we have been in these corporate positions, these government jobs, or whatever type of job you have. You think you're doing a great job, you apply for positions, upper management positions, and people are
Hmm.
told that, hey, you know what? Yeah, you've been here almost 20 years, but guess what? You don't have enough experience. And then you see someone else get hired, and it's just the constant rat race. And I just got tired. And I had some stuff happen to me in 2018, which
Mm,
basically was my breaking point.
hmm.
2018, I had two major deaths happen.
Sorry to hear
Went
that.
back to work. Thank you. My mother died. Then 2 days
Mm,
later, my best friend died as well.
mm,
So after that happened, the best friend, we actually worked together. We used to sit right next to each other at work. So I went back to work and I said, hey, I need a couple of months off work, to relax. And basically, my boss at the time told me, she said, if you can take 2 months off of work, you obviously maybe you don't really need this job. And maybe you
wow.
should pursue your real passions in life. If you decide to
Wow.
leave, we will understand. So maybe you
Wow.
should do that. Yeah.
Dang, like
So
that.
yeah,
Wow.
it
Okay.
was like that. So
I
I
mean,
figured, that was my breaking point to say, okay,
right.
you don't need this, you know?
Wow. And I think a lot of folks who are members of Africa 2063 are going through the same thing, right? College educated, bachelor's and master's degrees, hit that ceiling, that glass ceiling, have a passion project, maybe have tried to start their passion project here in the States. So let's talk about your travel business in South Africa. How easy, how difficult was it as far as licensing, work permits, citizenship? Maybe you can walk us through that a little bit of what that experience was like starting a business in South Africa.
Well, that's a really good question because I'm a little bit different. My business is, although I live in South Africa, my business is US based,
Okay, okay,
which, considering COVID, has been a really good thing that it is
right.
US based.
Okay,
So business is US based. I just happen to live here. Although I'm
got it.
looking at potentially opening a branch of a different type of business here in South Africa. So it can be done here if you get a tax ID number. You can start a business here pretty easily.
Got it.
But
Um,
before, as far as process, I don't
sure,
know if you want
sure.
to talk about visa or anything like that,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it may be
How?
something you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, as far as I'm sure there was a process for you to be allowed to live in South Africa. Maybe you can talk about that. You can't just show up and say, "I'm here." I'm sure there's some type of process. I'm here. I'm about to be up in this piece, right? No, maybe you can talk about that, and for those who just are not aware, like myself.
Yeah, sure. For South Africa, there are so many different types of processes you can do here. The standard thing that some people do just to check it out is basically the 90-day visa. You come here for 90 days, check it out, see if you like it, go back, or you can ask for an extension of that visa. For me personally, since I knew I was not going to be working, I don't work for any entity
Hmm.
here in South Africa. So I'm actually here on a retirement visa. Although
Okay.
I am not retirement age, I'm actually here on a retirement visa, which
Got it.
has some interesting levels to be able to get one. It's not as hard as you think. It's not age dependent. It's more of a financial commitment as far as if you have the amount of funds that they need you to have to make sure that you are going to, not be needing their government for assistance.
Got it. And speaking of, nice segue, you talk about financial commitment, the finance, as far as maybe you could talk a little bit about cost of living and even healthcare, maybe as compared to the States. We don't want to know exactly what's paying rent or
Okay.
if you're buying, but maybe you can talk to is it comparable? Is it less? As far as I know, you're in California for a time
Yes.
period. Maybe you can talk about the cost of living and healthcare costs and things like that.
Cost of living here definitely is a lot lower than what you expect in the States.
Hmm.
I actually have a global insurance policy.
Okay.
And the interesting thing about this global insurance policy is if I only had the policy for just living here in South Africa, that policy will be roughly $600 to $800 a year. But because I
That's
added the
when
US,
that's your health insurance. S-
if I were only staying here in South
Got
Africa, it
it.
was
Got it.
$600 to $800 a
Got
year.
it.
But with my policy, especially in the business that I am, I need to travel back and forth to the States.
Hmm.
So adding US cover pushed my insurance up to 3,000 a year.
Oh wow, that still isn't bad for what I'm paying for my family in here
Yeah.
in North Carolina. Wow. So if you were a permanent resident and were not going back and forth, the cost, what was it again? You said $600 per year for health insurance?
About $600 to $800 a year.
Wow,
But
wow.
some people here, I will tell you, a lot of people here sometimes that I'm not recommending that you do this, but
Hmm.
some people they may just opt to pay for whatever they need. Back in February, I went to the doctor. I had a doctor's appointment,
Hmm.
did a blood draw, received a prescription, and a doctor followed up with a phone call. I think I
Hmm.
spent maybe $60. So
You mean $760?
$60, 60.
I'm not going to tell you what I spent. I had putting my business out. I had a kidney stone recently, and even after insurance, my out of pocket, I spent like $3,000 for that few. I mean, fortunately, thankfully, I'm blessed enough to have the means. But what about someone who
Mhm,
didn't? Right? I mean, it was. I
mhm,
think the original bill was like $12,000 medical bill for just being in the hospital for a few hours, and they just check you out,
mhm.
just send you home, and you pass the stone a few hours later. And I spent $3,000 of my hard-earned money. But anyway, so
Wow.
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Let's talk about so cost of living is less, which is good. Because I always thought that South Africa was the more expensive, and the cost would be as much or more than a lot of American cities. But you're saying it's less, which is good. What about transportation? Do you use public transportation? Do you own a car? Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Okay. Can we roll back for just 1 second? As far
Certainly,
as South Africa
certainly,
and
yes.
cost of living, I will say this: with South Africa, depending on where you choose to live, whether you're in Durban, Cape Town, Johannesburg, or wherever, you can choose to live as high class as you want, mid class, low class, or whatever. So it really just depends on what you want. I tell people that I'm probably in a unique situation because I opted to live in a certain neighborhood and offered to I'm sorry, I wanted to have certain amenities. So I have a fully furnished apartment here. It's a one bedroom apartment, but it's fully furnished, got two TVs in here, all of the furniture, dishware, whatever.
Nice, nice.
Downstairs there's a pool here, hot tub, there
Okay.
is a
All right.
champagne bar here. So a lot of different amenities. So this place, I can actually tell you, this place runs me about 700 or so a
Wow.
month.
For a pool, so
So,
okay? You are you balling? That's nice. I mean, that's a good
so,
price for all those amenities. I mean, seriously, that's nice. Sounds really nice. So you
but most places, I would tell you, probably about half of that.
okay? Wow, wow. That's
Yeah.
that's fantastic. Um,
The transportation you mentioned.
yes, transportation. How do you get
Okay.
around? Yes.
For here, I do not have a car. At this moment, I don't have a desire to drive. They do drive on the wrong side of the road,
Right,
although
right.
they was at the right side.
Exactly,
But
exactly.
I don't drive here. So what I do is there are a lot of stores that are nearby me. I may walk to the store. I take Uber, take boat, and they also have like a rail system here. So I have been on the train here.
Got it. Got it. Very cool. Very cool. Let me ask you, there are a lot of ladies who are part of our group, Africa
Hmm.
2063, and a lot of
Hmm.
ladies have expressed or asked the question around safety. Being a woman in a, I want to say foreign countries, your home now, but in being in a place that
Hmm.
maybe not as familiar as some places in the States, how safe do you feel? How safe is it there for you being a single woman?
Um, Here in South Africa, I will say it does have a slight reputation for crime. However, I feel like crime is everywhere. So as long as you keep your head on a swivel, I think that you will be fine. I
Okay.
don't feel unsafe living here.
Okay.
But then again, I will say things. I'm not saying that my neighborhood protects me, but I chose to live in certain neighborhoods for particular reasons. I didn't mind paying extra money to have extra security that we have here in the building that we have. A lot of places have biometric access,
Mm,
high security, and things of that nature. So I
nice.
don't feel unsafe. I do spend some, before COVID, I did spend a lot of time out at night by myself. I don't wear flashy clothes. I don't have flashy jewelry, anything like that. So it doesn't. I don't know. This place, it doesn't scare me.
Got it.
I'll say
Okay,
that.
that's good to know. That's good to know. I always want to be safe, right? And especially with
Yeah, it doesn't scare me.
I'm like biometrics. I mean, you got the thumbprint. That's like on Star Trek. You know, they have like the retina scans. You look in the eyes and retina scans. Y'all got that. We ain't got that here. I ain't got no retina scans and biometric. Here's my little thumbprint. Beep beep. That's what y'all got. We ain't got that here. No, I'm playing. Um, I guess it's a nice segue into technology, right? Y'all got biometric
Okay.
scans and voice matching prints and stuff. What about technology? People are curious about, and I'm assuming you have internet access because we're able to have this conversation. But how readily
Yes.
available internet? Being able to communicate with people back here in the States. Maybe you can give me your take on that, being in South Africa.
Pretty much the same here. I have a US. I still have my US phone number here, so still have
Okay.
that. I also have a SIM card that I have in another phone that I use here in South Africa, so I can have a South African phone number. So communication is pretty much the same. Where I live, we have free Wi-Fi in this building, so I don't have to pay for Wi-Fi here. So I'm
What?
always constantly connected here.
Nice, 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 nice plus. A lot of places don't have that. I mean, in the hotels, but normally places where you live, it's like you better call Comcast, right? At least
Well,
that's for
well,
here,
it just depends on where you live. But
right?
since you mentioned something about communication and so forth, so actually, I actually live in a residential unit in a hotel, so that's why they have all of the amenities here. So I'm always
Ah,
having a constant internet here
in
and
other
power too.
in other words, you balling. That's what's
I'm not balling.
up. I'm like,
I'm not
this
balling.
is like it's like a rap video up in your spot. It's like you just got the it's like champagne. Y'all heard you say champagne bar. Don't think I didn't hear you
They
about the
do have
champagne
a
bar.
champagne bar.
You got the champagne bar. This bling is like blinging up in there. Like I ain't mad. I'm not hardly mad. All right. But yeah, that's nice. Nice. Speaking of, I guess a nice segue from champagne, is extracurriculars as far as things to do outside of COVID. Of course, things are on lockdown now, I'm sure. But outside of COVID, as far as things to go out and have a drink, and if you wanted to play some tennis or if you wanted to go to sporting events, maybe you can talk about the availability of extracurricular activities for you.
Well, there's so many things here. I'm actually I'm in a little bit outside of Johannesburg. I'm in Stanton in the suburbs here, but there's a lot here. There's a lot of cultural activities here, music, arts, entertainment, and so forth. During the week, I would go to comedy clubs on Tuesday nights,
Mm,
Wednesday and Thursday nights. I have a friend here that's in a live band, so I would go to their band.
nice.
Hear music. On Wednesday nights, first of the month, there's a free movie club I would go to where they would actually feed you a free dinner. So
What?
there's so many different things that I would do here. So a lot to do, a lot to get involved in here. Plus, I'm involved in a local global diaspora group here as well. So they keep us pretty busy here.
Nice, nice. That's yeah. It's always good to have stuff to do and people to or kind of outlet and extracurriculars. Um, can you, I guess just to talk about back to the transition again, when you came
Mhm.
to South Africa, what was the toughest thing about transitioning from the States to South Africa that you had to deal with?
The hardest transition is probably actually believing that you can actually do it, because it is, or it was very scary to walk away from a job that I had had for almost 20 years. I had a
Hmm.
professional job, high paying job as an engineer,
Hmm.
and to say I'm giving all of this up, and people talked about me. Oh my God, I can't believe you're walking away from this job. Are you crazy? And I tell these people, did I ask you for money? No, I didn't. Did I ask you for your help? No, I didn't. Did I ask you to pay my mortgage into California? No, I didn't. I said, I didn't ask you guys for anything. And a friend of mine told me that you look at what you're giving up, but you forget what you're gaining. You're gaining freedom. So
Hmm.
I've gained freedom, happiness, more time to do what I want to do, more time to rest, sleep, read,
Nice.
learn more things about this area. So, I look at what I gained, not necessarily what I lost.
Got it. And what about, is there anything that you wish you knew then before you made the transition that you know now? Is there anything that if you could go back in a time machine and tell Kina from, 4 years ago to say, hey, you know about this? Is there anything that you kind of wish you knew then?
Mm, it's a really good question. I would say that I wish that I had made this leap earlier.
Okay, that's
I
what's
wish,
up.
I wish I had done this earlier, because
Nice.
back in 2015, I think it was 2015 where I started talking about moving overseas. And I wish that maybe I had done it at that time.
Gotcha. And you talk about back in 2015 moving overseas. For those who are the Kina of say 2014, 2015, right? They're thinking about it now. What do you think is the best way for them to prepare? If they're thinking about making a move, say in 2023, in 3 years from now, what are some of the things that they could do now to prepare for, say, a move to an African nation such as South Africa?
Number one is look at the visa process. If you don't want to come to South Africa, if you want to go to another country, whether it be Ghana, Gambia, or wherever, look at what does the visa process look like. Is it an easy process? Is it a process where I need to have a lot of money? If so, start working on whatever that money is. If that means you need to um, show money in your retirement accounts, your investment accounts, or whatever, look at these things first. That's probably the first thing. So that will determine, okay, yes, I want to go here, but can I get it on this visa? Can I do it on a critical skills visa? Can I do it on a work visa? Can I do it on a retirement visa? So look at that, whatever the visa process is, the
Got
first
it.
thing.
Totally. I totally get it. What about, so you a successful business person in South Africa? What about, I guess, for someone who is, again, looking for income? Would you recommend them to start a business, maybe a US based business they bring to South Africa? What are the opportunities for someone who may want to come to South Africa and say work for Coca-Cola or something like that? Maybe you can just give us your perspective of, kind of money making advice. Should they start businesses or should you look to work for someone, or what is your advice there?
Another great question. You're really getting these questions today.
I'm throwing them at you, girl. I'll make you work. Make it work.
So I will say, for me personally, I opted. I don't want to work for anyone at this point in my
Nice,
life except for
nice.
myself. So it was easier for me to just basically keep my company. And I have a operations manager that pretty much runs my company day to day. So I'm still involved, but she runs a ton of the work there. But a lot of my friends that are overseas, most of them are either doing some digital nomad work, whether you are working online or you're creating something new. It could be something as simple as drop shipment, consulting, anything. So I can't say that I could recommend one way or the other, but there are people here that I know in South Africa that have started businesses that have been here for 20 plus years.
Hmm.
And some people are even in the wine business here. Other people are in different types of business, whether it's farming or so. So many different avenues that you can get into business here in South Africa, or keep whatever business you have in the States,
Got it.
or start one.
Got it.
As far as jobs
sure.
here, there are a lot of different companies here. Price Waterhouse Coopers is here. Obviously, Coca-Cola is here. Um, Plenty of alcohol companies here, wine companies as well. A lot of technology is here. So this is probably one of the, I don't want to say it's a westernized country, but
Yes.
perhaps it is. We do have a lot of perks that will remind you of home, but you will still know that this is Africa.
Got it. And do you know of like you have Black Americans, African Americans who expats there working for some of these companies? Is that something that you see at least some of? Black
Oh,
Americans working for companies.
yes, there are some people here that are working for companies. I know
Okay.
one lady that actually works for the city of Johannesburg. Another person I know here, they actually work for the government, which is another segment to do, is to look at working for the embassy, the consulate, United Nations, or whatever company is out there. So many different avenues, and maybe you can even transfer your job in the States to their sister company here in South Africa. Where I am living right now, I wish I could show you. Um, all of the different companies, all of the major banks I can see them outside of my window
Nice,
here.
nice.
So they're basically, you could probably transfer your position.
Got it. Nice, nice. A few more questions. I was like, this guy's
Okay.
keep on throwing them, right? I have so
Well,
many.
keep it
We were
going.
talking about. I mentioned African Americans, Black Americans working with various companies, but have you, or is there a community or communities of Black Americans um, in and around where you live that you've connected with? How readily available are there like-minded Black Americans near you?
Yes, I'm in three different groups here in South Africa. We
Oh,
have a
nice.
group called the Sisters of South Africa. We have a WhatsApp group, but we actually meet in person.
Hmm.
We met February, and I think again back in March of this year. So we get together for girl talk and serious
Nice.
talk as well. There's
Hmm.
another group which combines the men and the women, the
Okay.
global group. So
Okay.
another, and then with the current state of affairs in America, we do have a group that leans more about Black Lives Matters,
Hmm.
things of that
Hmm.
nature, politics. So although we are overseas, we are still involved in the fight that is in America. So did some protesting here
Mm.
in South Africa. So although people say, "Oh, I'm here and I don't feel like I can do anything," yes, you can. You can
Right,
still do
right.
something in another country.
Nice. And speaking of Black Lives Matters and protests, you think about South Africa. I mean, it's how ironic, right? You're in South Africa, and you think about apartheid in its past and how we were protesting, right, for the release of Nelson Mandela. We're about the same age, so I remember that during my high school years of Nelson Mandela. I think it was in 1990. Also, I was in college when Nelson Mandela, I think, released and came to the United States on a speaking tour. So maybe you can talk about living post apartheid and
Mhm.
how are I was going to say Caucasians in the country. How's the interaction? Are there racial tensions between uh, people of the Black folks and people who are not Black? And maybe you can talk a little bit about that and what your experience has been as far as the racial element in South Africa, if there
Okay.
is any at all.
There is some, but it just depends on where you are. I have a friend that lives in Cape Town. He will tell you that he may see it on a regular basis where I don't see it. And I hate to say this, when I open my mouth and people hear my accent,
Hmm.
things change. It just
Really?
instantly changes. So I think that people, once they hear your accent, they're like, oh, you're American. Oh my God, you're American. And it's like people started falling all over you. I don't necessarily like that because I
Mm-hmm.
would prefer to just be treated for just me, not because of my passport is blue.
And,
So,
and you're just talking
um,
about the way that white South Africans treat you based on your American accent. Is that
yeah,
correct?
I've
Got it.
seen
Got
that.
it.
I've seen
Got
that.
it.
Yeah,
Got it.
I've seen that.
Okay.
But you will see sometimes I'll see experiences where I could be out in a restaurant. There may be the waiter or waitress may be from South Africa, Black South African.
Hmm.
They may be talking to a white South African Africans
Hmm.
person, and you may see them say something foul to the person. And I'm looking like, what is your problem? And I've seen situations where a woman, she basically jumped line in front of someone, but she didn't do it to me because I think I turned around like,
Right. Right.
You gonna try this with me? So I don't know. I
So
don't
there
know.
is that
I think
subtle tension there. It seems a little bit, maybe.
You will see it in some
Okay.
places, but probably on my personal day-to-day basis, I don't see it. I don't see it.
Got it. Got it.
Not saying it didn't happen, but I personally
Yeah,
don't
no,
see it on a regular basis.
this is great. Yeah, I'm learning so much. Hopefully the viewers will say the same. So pretty much, I'm pretty much down to my last one or two questions that I
Okay.
got. I'm just going through my list of questions that people from the group were wanted to ask. I think the last question is preparing emotionally, right? You think about, it's a big journey to leave a country that you call home to a country of our descent and our origin, right? I know for me, when I eventually retire on the continent, I'm going to have a mixed emotions because I love being a Black American, even though I feel that America really doesn't appreciate Black folks, right? But I love being
Mhm.
from Detroit. I go hard for Detroit. I love being a Black man, a Black American man,
Okay.
right? So I know it can be, for me, it would be a little bit of emotional, mixed emotion. So maybe you could talk about the preparing emotionally, or if there was, and I mean, it might have been like stepping on ants. You'd be like, I'm deuces, I'm out, like, forget y'all, right? It might have been like that, right? I mean, I get it. So maybe you could talk about the emotional journey or preparing emotionally for transitioning to a place that you knew as home to a place that, is our original home. Maybe you could talk about that a little bit.
Um, I don't want to say that I had a big emotional impact here. I think because I had planned for so long to
Hmm.
make this move that I think, once that rush of emotions is over, you're pretty much done. When I was leaving, the biggest emotional day, and I'm not a crier. I tell people I'm a Sagittarius. We make people cry. I'm not a crier.
Okay,
So
yeah, watch out, watch out there now.
so I remember the day that I put my house up for rent in California,
Hmm.
and a friend of mine they were there when I was leaving my house, and all of a sudden I closed the door to my house, turned around, started crying like a 5 year old little girl because
Okay.
I think at that moment I realized this is it. This
Right,
is
right.
it. I'm leaving. This is, yes, this is my house, but I'm turning it over to a property management company or
Mhm.
whatever. And this is it. I think that was almost like a sense of relief that, okay, this is the moment I prepared for. So I can't turn around at this moment. So let these emotions fly. And then, I was fine after
Got
that.
it, got it. Yeah, and I'm sure it was kind of a bit of emotional roller coaster, kind of leaving that and moving on. I think we're good. Kina, is there anything maybe we didn't cover that you want to maybe enlighten us on? Maybe a word of encouragement for the sisters out there who think they can't do it, or maybe a brother out there who thinks he can't do it. Anything that you want to leave as parting words for our members?
Yeah, I would say anybody out there that is watching this, you can actually do this. A lot of people will try to discourage you, and a lot of those people that will try to discourage you will probably be your family.
Mm,
Most of the time, it may be your family, it may be people that you work with. So um, I hate this term. They say real G's move in silence. In this case, real G's may move in silence. And
right.
even for myself, I didn't tell anybody at my job that I was quitting. I
Mm,
basically put in my notice, left. Next thing you know, yeah, I was gone. I was
right,
out
right, right.
to South Africa in 2 months. So I would say, start planning your move if you need somebody to talk to, maybe someone in our group, the Africa 2063 group, to say, hey, let me bounce these ideas off of you. What do you think about this? What do you think about me doing this or something like that? Or post something in the group to say, this is what I'm planning to do. Does this make sense? But I tell people that for people that live overseas, um, there's a small community that we kind of get it. We kind of get
Hmm.
it. We understand it. Where other people are asking you questions like, "What are you running away from?"
Right, right,
Nothing,
right. I feel
nothing.
that.
And speaking of running away, and let me say this:
Sure.
if anyone is, which, although this might sound like a contradiction, if you are running away from something and you move overseas, that same problem that you're running from, is going to be with you when you move overseas. So
Sure, sure.
I suggest that whatever it is, try to solve that issue, whether it's a relationship issue, it's a
Hmm.
financial issue, dealing with the parent issue or whatever, solve that issue before you move because it will only get it will be compounded once you move overseas, especially if you can't get to whatever that situation is. That's not a good reason to run.
Yeah.
So
So
that's
everybody out
probably something
there,
I would say.
if you're running from your crazy mama, she gonna follow you. No, I'm playing.
She will.
I'm playing. But no, Keena, listen. So thank you. So on behalf of everybody, thank you for putting up with me and my little not so funny humor. You know what I'm saying?
That's
So,
okay.
and so on behalf of everybody, the 1,400 members and counting as of July 14th, 2020, 1,400 members, and it's growing every minute. On behalf of the 1,400 of us, thank you for blessing us with your wisdom. Feel free to use us as a resource. Where probably a lot of us are going to eventually be your neighbors, so we hope to keep the lines of
Come on
communications
now.
open and and figure out ways to support each other. So with that, thank you very much, and with that, we're going to end the call. So let me just go ahead and end it here, and thank you much.
Thank you.